What's that feeling you've got? You can't quite put your finger on it, can you? You feel like there's something shifting inside, there's something manifesting. Things that didn't used to bother you now bother you. People that didn't used to annoy you now get on your nerves a bit. You start spotting things that aren't quite right, but you're not sure why. What's changing inside? Is it your age? Is it hormones? Is it your diet? Too many carbs, too much sugar, too much alcohol, not enough exercise, not enough sleep? Are you overworked? Are you overburdened? Is there too much stress in your life? We could just put it all down to the menopause, and maybe some of it is the menopause, but what else is going on? Because you might even try HRT, nothing much changes. You still don't sleep very well. You still have these questions rattling around your brain thinking, what is life about? What am I doing here? What are these relationships teaching me? Why do I have all these relationships? I know those feelings oh too well. And the fire in your belly that you feel is there's something going on that's growing. And there's like a tugging that you think, I've got to just start asking the deeper questions of what is this all about? If you haven't met me before, I'm Lolly, and I still consider myself a baby Christian after 3 years, which is funny, really, because I'm 54, so I'm in the more mature era of my life, and yet I'm also a baby. And I find that kind of cool and curious, and I like it. So I know these feelings well. And what I found was I ended up watching pastors online, and it was great. I found a few that I really enjoyed listening to. I liked what they had to say. I trusted them. And I trusted that they knew the Bible inside out, and I could just be fed by them, really, I suppose. But then as time went on, sometimes they would say things and it wouldn't sit right with me. And I'd think, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure I agree with that. Is that just because I don't agree because of what I've learned just through living in the world? Or is this because maybe they haven't got it exactly right? Maybe the way they were taught isn't exactly right? Because, I mean, there's loads of different versions of the Bible. But everything was so exciting and so new, and I was absorbing it all and taking it all in and trying to understand it all, and things were changing inside of me because I decided that I wanted to have a relationship with Jesus, and I wanted to get to know him, and I wanted to understand what Christianity was all about and what it really means to follow Christ and how it changes us from the inside out. But when these things weren't sitting so well with me, I realized it was in time that I had to have a more direct conversation with God and a more direct relationship with him, to be taught by him as well as what I was trying to learn from the pastors. So that's what I did. I decided to read the New Testament from some really good advice from other Christians. And it's definitely, for me, it was the best place to start, because the New Testament, you can get to know Jesus before going into the Old Testament, which is a completely different way of reading and understanding the Bible. because we see Jesus in the Old Testament, but it's not about Jesus. So it's helpful to get to know Jesus first. That's what I found anyway. So sorry if I'm not explaining this too well. So that's what I did. I picked up the Bible and I read the New Testament first, and that was, for me, a really good way of getting to know Jesus before tackling anything in the Old Testament. And what happened during that time was even more began to change inside of me. And one of the biggest things that happened during this time is all of my relationships began to change. My relationships with my family and my friends began to change because I was changing inside. And whilst I understood on a surface level what was going on, I completely did not know what to expect. I had no idea how brutal it was going to feel, even though Jesus is so kind and loving and gentle and patient. The process of going through being born again for me was really brutal. I didn't grow up a Christian. And when I say it was quite brutal, I mean I had to humble myself. At first I said God humbled me, but I then realized that actually, no, we have to humble ourselves because we have to accept that we're the ones that need to hand over. We need to hand our old self over to be born again, for him to do the work in us. And that felt brutal because old beliefs and old opinions and old ways of living were being stripped away. And that can be painful for the person experiencing it and for the people around them as well, because they see us changing and it's a lot for them to deal with. They see us going through such massive changes, and it's hard for them to adjust. And some of the people in my life adjusted to it and some didn't, which did result in losing a few friends and my marriage ending. But it had to happen this way for Jesus to work in me. It was like he needed to pick me up and put me over here and say, just sit down and be quiet. We've got some work to do. And what this process has made me realize and understand 3 years in is that with the best will in the world, all the pastors and all the vicars and all of the elders that lead and teach, they don't know everything. And whoever we listen to, at some point they're going to say something that you don't agree with. And at some point they're going to say something that you think, that just doesn't sit right. And I don't believe you should be forced to agree with anyone. If you don't feel that it's right, then what we need to do is go and study it, is to get your Bible out and study it and to pray to God and to understand the context and the original language, what was being taught, who was being taught, in what circumstance were they being taught, because there's some big things in the Bible that so many churches teach about that 3 years in, I now don't agree with. And so it's a massive learning curve, and it is really humbling, and I'm only just scratching the surface. So that's why I'm saying that the biggest mistake I made when becoming a new Christian was to listen to the pastors and believe or think that they knew everything about the Bible, because they don't. And that's okay. I mean, it's okay though. And that's the beautiful thing about God, is that we'll go through this process and we'll realize that we were wrong about things. But he's always there with open arms, and he's always there waiting for us, and he's always there ready to teach us. And he's always so gracious and merciful. And what I think now is, when I feel not sure about something and I go and study it, and then I pray to God for his wisdom and his knowledge, and he will teach me at the level where I am, I think is what I'm trying to say. He will teach me where I am, and some things I might not be ready to understand yet. So I have to accept that I might not be ready to understand that yet. So I just hand that over. And what this is teaching me is patience, and really understanding that it takes time, and it's all right. It does take time walking with Jesus. We have to go at his speed, God's speed. God's speed, his speed. He will lead us at his speed. And we have to just keep trusting that and allowing that to happen. And when we feel the conviction about something, that's when we know he's talking to us. When we feel like, whether we feel like something is true or not, we need to then go and test it against the Bible. But we need to go direct to him. Not always to the pastors, not always to the teachers, but directly to him, and ask him to work on our hearts and reveal to us that the beliefs that we hold that aren't true, the lies that we believe that aren't true, and trust that he will teach us in his timing. He doesn't ever condemn. When we feel condemned, that's the enemy, that's not God. He doesn't condemn us. He will convict us when we need it, but he does not condemn us. But he will do it at our pace. His pace, but him leading us. So we can't rush it. We can't rush it. And I just want to speak to any new Christians that are completely feeling maybe overwhelmed of the whole thing. And sometimes people, they dip their toes in and it's just too much, and they might backslide and whatever. It doesn't matter, because God will always be there with his arms open. Jesus will always welcome us back, no matter what. And that's just the most encouraging thing that I think I want to put across in this message, that it's not easy. It's a really narrow path, and I understand why they say it's a narrow path now. And lastly, I want to just remind you that what I've learned is that walking with Christ and having a relationship with Jesus is so personal. My journey walking with Jesus is going to look different from your journey walking with Jesus, because he will teach us things at different times of our lives when we're ready, when it's the appropriate time for us. That's when he'll teach us. So I think that really helps me as well to let go of striving wanting to know all of the answers now, thinking I have to understand it all now. I need to understand the scriptures. I need to be able to quote scriptures off the top of my head. But I don't. I don't have to at all. All I have to do is have a relationship with Jesus, is pray to him, talk to him, listen to him, ask him to search my heart and ask him to reveal to me what needs to be revealed to me, and trust that he will do that. And I just want to read today's devotional, because I read it this morning and it was just so lovely. Today's August the 22nd. These are not your problems. Beloved, don't hold so tightly to the situations you cannot fix. Give them to me, all of them, completely. Do you know what will happen when you fully release those cares? You'll step into a dimension of freedom unlike anything you've ever known. Believe it or not, I don't need you to mentally assess every problem in order to find a solution. It isn't your job to fix everything, and no amount of worry is going to change anything. Sometimes I need you to do something. Sometimes there are steps you must take in order to put things on track. But you won't stumble upon the answers by racking your brain and clenching the problem tightly. They aren't your problems. They're ours together. So release difficult situations into my hands. Step back and quiet yourself in my presence. Then you will be able to hear my instructions clearly and experience the peace that comes with them. And if I don't want you to do anything other than to trust me and find peace, you must believe that I know what I'm doing. Let go and trust me. Say to the anxious and fearful, be strong and never afraid. Look, here comes your God. He is breaking through to give you victory. He comes to avenge your enemies. With divine retribution, he comes to save you. And that's Isaiah 35, verse 4. Be strong and never afraid. We all have anxieties and fear. And it's a daily reminder to just, whenever we feel those anxieties and fear, to acknowledge that we feel them. They're there, they're real. We live in a broken world. We live in a confusing world. But we can take those anxieties and fear to God, and we can say, please God, I release the anxiety and fear to you. I release it, Lord. Would you take it from me and replace it with your peace and your calm? Would you fill my heart with more of you, Lord? Would you fill every soul of my being with more of you, Father God? Less of me and more of you. Show me the way, lead me. Lead me to you. You take the steps and just, I'll follow you. Tether me to you, Father. Just tether me to you. Lord, would you break all other yokes that I have created along the way, Lord? Would you break the yokes, and would you yoke me to you and only you, Lord? Because his yoke is easy. His burden is light. He will lead us. Just be tethered to him. I once learned about the spiritual umbilical cord, that when we're born again into the spirit, We are tethered to God by a spiritual umbilical cord. Just the same as when we're born on earth, we're born as a baby and we have an umbilical cord to our mothers, which are removed, they're cut away. But when we're born again into the Spirit, when we're born again into Christ, this umbilical cord that He feeds us through with His word, His knowledge, His wisdom, His love, His understanding, everything that He blesses us with is fed through this umbilical cord, which can never, ever be severed. Never, ever. Which, I mean, how much comfort is in that? There's so much comfort in knowing that. And I'm going to leave you with that because I feel like that's enough. And if you've enjoyed this video, then let me know in the comments. Let me know your experience of being born again. Let me know how your walk with Christ is going. Let me know what's on your mind, what's on your heart, what struggles you have. I'll see you next time. Bye.